My name is Nicole.
I'm Maddie.
And we're presenting today on Lepidoptera, which you will more commonly know as moths and butterflies. So, first off, their taxonomic classifications. They're from the phylum Arthropoda and the class of Insecta, so they are insects, and then their order name is Lepidoptera.
So there are over 820,000 species of moths and butterflies. And according to Bartlett in 2004, moths can be identified as having feathery antennae, and they're normally active at night, and they also rest with their wings open, flat or tinted over their bodies.
And then different from moths, butterflies have thin antennae with knobs on the end. They're active during the day, and then when they're resting their wings, they're closed above their bodies. So the habitats, because there are so many different types, so many different species, like she said, there's 120,000 of them. So they live in very diverse habitats. These include like salt marshes, mangroves, sand dunes, lowland forests, wetlands, grasslands, and mountain zones, which we have a few pictures of different areas. But you can see there's a lot of different types of plant and foliage that they can use. So the larvae and adults are typically found near their food source, hence why they're in the habitats that they are. So another thing with the habitat is they'll live in a lot of these places. And the caterpillars, they're mostly active during the summer because that's when everything is really bloomed, and they're the large abundance of their food sources. A big thing in their habitats is that it must provide all the requirements needed throughout the entire life cycle, which Maddie will go over later. But so something really important is rock surfaces and bare ground, because these are where the lichen that the larvae eat. That's where they are, and then it allows for the adults to kind of bask in the sun and stay warm.
So their nutrition kind of depends on whether they're in their larva or their adult stage of their life cycle. So larva food all depends on what species they are. They will eat other larvae. Some species will eat soft-bodied insects, but most of them will eat roots, twigs, leaves, fungi, cotton, wool. The adults are a little different. Most of us know that butterflies and moths eat nectar as the primary food source. So the secondary food source for adults would be honeydew from insects, tree sap, juice from rotting fruit, and some species actually feed off of animal blood or tears, which is kind of crazy. Adult moths don't actually have functional mouth parts, so they don't tend to feed at all.
For reproduction, moths and butterflies do go through sexual reproduction, and as we learned in lecture, the term oviparous, which is egg laying. So females can lay hundreds of eggs at a time, and they will actually lay them next to a particular food source. That way, when they get to the larva stage, they're right next to their food source, and they don't really have to go very far. And something really interesting was that a lot of species do scent marking on the plant, so the female, when she lays the eggs, will lay a certain scent, and it's warning other females that they have already laid eggs here, so that those females lay theirs elsewhere, and it decreases the amount of competition there is for that food source. That way, the larvae can thrive a little bit more in the environment. And then their breeding season is, again, in like the warmer time, so spring, summer, and then early fall before it gets cold.
So a major evolutionary adaptation that moths and butterflies have is they go through complete metamorphosis, which just means that they have 4 main stages in their life cycle: egg, larva, pupa, and then adulthood. So after the larva hatches from an egg, we normally call that larva a caterpillar. And so the caterpillar will eat and grow and molt, which just means that it sheds its skin as it grows bigger. So after several molts, the larva develops into a naked pupa, which is called a chrysalis in butterflies. And then it stays in that pupa until adulthood. So inside the pupal, larval tissues will break down. The division of these cells will build the adult body. and then the hardened veins from the caterpillar will eventually become wings. So, like I said, butterflies in pupa is called chrysalis, and moths don't form a chrysalis, they form a cocoon, which is made of leaves, their body hair, and silk, anything they can find to help protect them. And some species of moths will actually dig into the ground to pupate. So after a certain amount of time, the adults break free of their chrysalis if it's a butterfly, cocoon if it's a moth, and they will emerge as a fully grown adult. So they will fly off in search of food, and they will try and find a mate. So then after they mate, the females lay eggs, and then the whole process starts over again.
And so some more evolutionary adaptations, they have the long proboscis that uncoils in order for them to feed, so when they're getting their nectar. So an example of it is the Macroglossum stellatarum, which was actually pictured in the textbook, and that is the hummingbird hawk moth, and that's what that picture is up here. So you can see the proboscis uncoiled while it's trying to get the nectar. A fascinating thing is that to identify their own species. So butterflies identify just the way that we identify them. They're bright colors. So a lot of different things is their patterns, so they can be striped, they can have bands on them, spots. Some have hair, spines, knots, or some are even smooth. So there's a lot of different ways that they can be identified with their own species. And then moths actually identify their own species using specific scents. And then as far as the adaptations for larvae, they have a hardened head capsule, a really fleshy body, and then they have 3 pairs of legs and then 0 to 5 pairs of prolegs. And what the prolegs are for is clinging to objects, and then it also aids in walking.
So some more evolutionary adaptations that moths and butterflies have is they have abrupt flight patterns to evade predators. Moths are mostly active at night, like we already said, and they are prey for bats. So they can actually detect bat calls, and so they'll fly in sudden drops and weaving patterns to avoid being eaten. Male butterflies can produce a chemical plug when they're mating in a female to prevent other males from mating with that female. Cocoon lining. Moths can form a dry web-like lining on their cocoon to prevent ice crystals, and they do that as a larva with an oral secretion.
So the ecological significance, as their main food source is nectar, they're flying from plant to plant. So adult moths and butterflies are really valuable pollinators in the environment. And then caterpillars, well, they're herbivores, and so caterpillars are herbivores, and they're also food for a lot of different animals and other insects and stuff. So they're very key in the whole predator-prey relationship that we have.
So some human impacts, their species are becoming endangered because their habitats are becoming endangered. In Finland, data from 2,245 species was collected, and the researchers they primarily looked at the number of population with a primary habitat for each species. And so when they compared their results to the Red List Index, which is a global list of endangered species, they actually saw a decrease in butterflies and moths, but they found an increase in other insect groups. And right now, globally, 51 species of moths and butterflies are categorized as endangered. So humans are a main factor in this decline because of the fact that some species of moths are seen as pests, and so we'll try to kill them because they eat crops. Some species have poisonous hairs or spines on them that can cause painful rashes if touched, so parents will try and get all of these off of their home, their yard, because they don't want their kids getting these rashes or anything. So these pictures, the top picture is an Atlas graywing, this type of moth. The middle picture is an Arwachus aphasica. And then the bottom yellow and blue butterfly is called a swallowtail butterfly, and all 3 of these are currently on the endangered species list. And so all these moths and butterflies are very important for all the reasons that we've talked about so far.
Yeah, so to wrap it up, something fascinating was that there are indeed 120,000 different species. That is just outstanding to me. So because of the high amount of different species, they live in all of these different habitats. So they have to live in these diverse areas, otherwise there's no way that there would be enough food or anything in the environment for them to all survive. So they really have adapted to these different environments. And they have a lot of evolutionary adaptations. We listed only some of them, but there were so many more that they've adapted over time. They're very valuable pollinators amongst their different habitats, and due to being seen as pests by humans, especially moths, because people kind of look at butterflies and they think they're really pretty, but moths are really seen as pests. So humans have definitely been trying to get rid of them, and it really is